Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Cubism. I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
This week, we're going to be talking about, Amonkhet after the fact. It's been 3 months now. We're about a week into our devastation, and we talk about how much of an impact Amonkhet made on cubes and yours and mine, and kind of how the cards played out after speculating on them before the set actually came out. So, really quick before we get into this, we have to thank the Menagerie. Menagerie gives us a platform to make this kind of content and deliver it to you. So be sure to check out themenagerie.com. They have a lot of good content on a lot of different topics, including Cube. So we're going to talk about the cards that did well, did badly, some cards that maybe impressed us that we didn't even talk about. So I guess to get out of the way, cards like Soulscar Mage and Dreadwander.
They're 1-drops. They're good. They attack.
Yeah, obviously those cards perform just about as you'd expect. They've both been very, very good, with Dreadwander being a little better than expected, and Soulscar Mage being exactly as fine.
Exactly as you expected.
Exactly as I expected. So going into Amonkhet, we had another cycle of gods, very similar to Theros. I guess they're not that similar to Theros, but they had the god creature type. And a lot of people are kind of, humming and hawing about whether or not they'd be good. Them all having, stipulations to make them attack. So, what one did you end up trying in the end?
Well, I was convinced to run 4 in total.
Yeah.
And so everyone excluding Bantu.
Yeah, me too. I know I sold you on a couple of them. But Bantu got the short end of the stick, being what seemed to be a little too hard to make work. Unless, you're super dedicated to that kind of strategy. But overall, I ended up trying solo Oketra, Kefnet, Rhonas, and Hazoret. Out of all of them, do you still play all 4?
Currently. And I guess if you want to dive right in at the worst performing god, Oketra, I'm probably going to keep it in currently because I cut Exalted Angel for it, and Exalted Angel is not doing very much.
Yeah, so I don't, my cube, so let you know, I play a slightly smaller cube. My cube is 450 cards, Drew's is 540. Oketra, obviously, was the least performing out of all of them. It seemed very, pretty easy to turn on and kind of okay, once you got it going.
It was not super impactful.
But yeah, it's just not, a lot of the gods, I guess a lot of the problem of them is they're not impactful immediately, so the payoff of being able to animate has to be worth it. And unfortunately, Oketra, you kind of curve into it properly, but if they ever out your board, it's very, very difficult to get it back online. And the
4 mana is
4 mana
expensive.
The 4 mana to make a token is unreasonable. You're never on that plan. If you're on that plan, it's a losing strategy. You've already lost the game.
Mobilization.
Yeah, it just turns into this worse mobilization at that point. So Oketra was easily the worst performing. Well, looked like, I don't want to say I was super excited about it, but I thought it would definitely be a little better than it played out. And unfortunately,
well, the one I thought was going to play out one of the worst was Kefnet, and he's actually been pretty decent for me.
So we can move on to Kefnet. Kefnet is not quite like Thassa. Like, let's say Thassa, when it was kind of popular around Cube, Thassa performed very, very average. It was very fine. You knew what you were getting into when you played it. It performed almost the same every time. You jammed into a lot of this blue decks to help you scry during the mid game, and then would eventually animate the inevitability.
Time, that scrying just not worth it.
Yeah, you just kind of want to be.
You never animated.
Yeah, it animated not often enough, unfortunately. So Kefnet was the go-to from this set, and Kefnet, again, I think it sees play less than Thassa did overall, because Thassa, I think people just going to shoehorn it into a deck and feel fine about it, but Kefnet definitely feel it rewards you a lot more. It plays a lot better in specific matchups where Thassa didn't. Thassa kind of just did the same thing every time, where Kefnet in any kind of control mirror, if it resolves, it's this big indestructible flying problem in a lot of mid-range decks, so like a lot of blue-green decks or something like that, because its activated ability is very reasonable and it lets you bounce a land. It fuels itself so quickly.
Yeah, first game with Kefnet did more than Thassa probably ever did in any of the matches, except for some outlier circumstances. It was a really reasonable game, and it was kind of a slower game, and he just drew me 4 cards, bouncing a land one time, and ultimated, or turned into a 5/5 and attacked a couple times. It was pretty good.
It was, yeah. So the card, again, isn't super flashy by any means, but it definitely gets the job done. Like you said, it even the little amount of time that I've had playing Kefnet, it's done much more than Thassa ever did, and I'm very, very happy with it. It's maybe it's not quite the card if you're just looking for a very universal blue card. Like we said, it doesn't just go into every deck and every matchup, but it does play a fairly big role in a lot of specific matchups, and it shines very bright in those decks where Thassa, again, probably you can shoehorn into more decks. It's not going to do as much. You're not going to feel bad about it, but overall just like performs a little under the bar, unfortunately. So the next one we can get to was Hazoret. We can get to Hazoret. Hazoret was the first god spoiled, I believe. Not that it matters, but it was the longest that people had the most time to digest and kind of speculate if it'd be good or not. The card's shown, actually most of the gods have been very small blips in the standard radar, but hopefully after rotation that'll change. But either way, Hazoret, unfortunately, I think it's performed slightly less than I expected, but I still like the card a lot.
It's like there's you're not wrong by playing Hazoret in your cube, because it'll do kind of what you expect, but it's not like top tier.
Mm-hmm. So I guess if you look at the red 4-drops, you have like Hellratter, Hero of Oxid Ridge.
Not too big of a fan of Hero, but
right. But like Hero and Hellratter, they both try to kill your opponent very fast. Yeah. And there's on the other side of the coin, there's like Pia and Kieran, Flame Tukavu, and maybe Perforos, which are either like mid-rangey or I completely strategy altogether at Perforos. Where Hazoret is almost like the in-between, where it can try to kill your opponent very fast, and obviously its ability makes it look like it wants to do that. But it's also okay at playing this mid-range game. Because if you play like let's say like red-whites, it's red-white mid-range deck, you can kind of slam it early. And then that deck, it sounds bad but those decks don't have a lot of card engines to fuel cards. So when you do get Hazoret, you do get to discard extra lands, deal 2 damage through that ability, and then eventually the 5/4 body is very, very big. But it's because I guess if you compare it to Flame Tongue or Pia and Kieran, it doesn't impact the board right away. It is kind of in this. It's not quite the premier aggro 4-drop. It isn't quite a mid-range card. It is kind of in this bizarro world. I do like the card quite a bit. I'm still going to keep playing it for probably a couple more weeks to see what other people think about it.
So if you only could run one god, run red 4-drop god, Perforos or Kefnet?
I like Perforos a lot more. Perforos is
fuels a different type of archetype.
Absolutely, you can play it in kind of these big mid-range decks, though it obviously shines better in this like token strategy. And just because Perforos fuels that, just on his own can just like make these token decks shine very, very well. I think I'd easily choose Perforos over Hazoret. It's also just more exciting than Hazoret.
Sparkly border,
absolutely. So the last god we're going to get into was Rhonas. Mm-hmm. So Rhonas is a not exciting card. It is very, very boring.
Well, that's the one I was most excited about, though.
You know what? It doesn't take a lot to get you going, I guess. But Rhonas, I think, was the one that people were, I guess, excited about because you kind of knew it was going to be a sure thing. It's going to be this big creature in green. It's going to be very, very easy to animate it. It's going to perform fine. It's been that.
It's been fine.
It's sometimes you play it on the right curve and it just it ends the game very, very quickly in a lot of games in my experience. In a lot of like the go wide matchups we played as creatures versus creatures, it often becomes this mirror breaker in that sense. And obviously any kind of pairing with Thrun, it makes it quite the powerhouse. But
I find that exciting.
The card has performed well, but it's really vanilla. It's not very exciting, but it's performed well. It's a good card. At the end of the day, like I definitely recommend it to other people. So like I said, outside of the gods, we have, let's say, Nissa. Nissa was the new blue-green planeswalker to this set, and
like the bar for Simic is like way down below the camera here.
It's off the camera. So blue-green, the card pool is super light, and the cards that are good are mostly good because there's not many other options, and they've just kind of been like, for example, Mystic Snake. A lot of people think like Mystic Snake's one of the premier Simic cards, and it has been since Apocalypse. But I guess a lot of people, just because of how bad the rest of the selection is, Mystic Snake still has this allure. It still looks like fancy and shiny and still is still good. But if you try to look at it like I guess I don't want to say without a bias objectively. The card isn't that good anymore. It's aged pretty poorly. It is kind of slow.
It's got a nice foil.
Balgum's foil is very nice, and even Edric. Like Edric is a fine card, but it kind of you know what, the one thing I do like about Edric is it plays towards like what the blue green deck wants to do. So I do like Edric.
Flood the board with a bunch of guys. Attack, draw some
absolutely.
cards.
I do like Edric the most in terms of like it being the most Simic feeling card. Like Dragon Predator is another old workhorse that just over time has kind of it's kind of aged out. The being able to attacking and getting the effect, it just feels too slow. You want the more immediate effects that green's slowly amassing. You want your acidic slimes and your elf reclamation sage. Over having to get this value over time, because if you're not putting it in your deck to hate out a specific card, just having this 3-mana 2/3 flyer isn't that good. Like sure, it might catch a card here and there, but like without having a reason to put it in my deck to hate out a specific sideboard card, let's say opposition, though I guess at that point it's never getting through, or swords or something like that, it still doesn't feel good to play anymore. And other than that, like the Simic cards, you have both Kioras, which I guess Kiora, the Crashing Wave is fine.
That's the one I like the most.
Linear and not super interactive.
It's mostly like a sideboardy against control.
Yeah,
Planeswalker.
you inevitably ultimate them and you get them eventually.
Krakens.
So again, obviously Crashing Wave is leagues better than the other one. I can't seem to remember the name of.
Master of the Depths.
That is correct. I did play it for a week.
More than a week, didn't you?
Probably.
Yeah.
When I was trying to fuel this bizarro delirium strategy. So, Crashing Wave is one of the premier Simic cards, but again, is very linear, not all that fun to play.
Wasn't even good in, sealed for me. It should be great in sealed.
So Nissa, back to Nissa. Nissa was supposed to breathe new life into Simic. It's one of the finally Wizards threw us a bone. Felt like we haven't gotten a fairly good Simic card in a while. And,
you just run it on a 3.
How has Nissa performed for you?
Hasn't been drafted.
Yeah,
because we've been not cubing that much.
I know. I've definitely had more experience with the Amonkhet cards than you have, and there's been many times where I've had that card and I've been able to slam it and it'd have 8 loyalty or something crazy. I've never gotten the slam it lands kill you, unfortunately. But there's been a lot of rollouts where you have turn 1 mana elf into mana elf rock into Nissa or into something, a lot of big mana into Nissa.
Why don't you just run Nissa out and turn through 2?
That's the thing, I'm always thinking I'm gonna big mana this card out. And the first couple times that I did, it was disappointment after disappointment. Every time you zero it and you hit a land, hit nothing. I can't do anything with this thing. Every single time I did it for a couple games in a row, and then
just treat it more like
the card. The card is just a Jace Beller, and the card is at best whenever I played the card without having obviously library manipulation. You just run it on 3, and it's just a Jace Beller, and that makes the rest of your draws good for the rest of the game. And every now and then, because of the scry, you can manipulate it and make it this cool turn. But yeah, that card is just 3 mana Jace Beller, with other text randomly attached to it.
Yeah. It's fine.
That is this Fireball.
It's Simic we're talking about.
Yeah, again, if this card was I guess it wouldn't be. It's hard to say. It's hard to say if this card was an Orzhov card or if this card was a Gruul card, because this just wouldn't make any sense. But if this Caliber card was in another color, I probably wouldn't look twice at it. But because it is Simic, it's here to stay for at least the time being. So I guess that covers a lot of the Amonkhet cards.
Vizier of a Menagerie.
Right. That is there's 2 more cards to talk about, and Vizier of the Menagerie was another one. I know during spoiler season at least. You and I were both. I don't want to say we were high on the card, but there were a lot of people just automatically counted it out.
I was more excited that it was a 3/4, and it can attack and block effectively.
It did. It does, and it costs 3 and a green. It has very attractive.
That's very important. Because every other card in green costs 2 and 2 green.
Right, except for So, actually, I think does Oracle cost 3 and a green or 2 and 2 green?
It's 3 and a green.
I think it's 3.
But it's it can attack or block.
So. When Vizier Menagerie got spoiled, there was I don't want to say there was naysayers, but there was the people in the camp of we already have enough premium 4-drops that this card doesn't. We don't really.
Can't agree with that.
This card.
Green needs more premium 4-drops.
And then the other side of the coin is people who are kind of excited about it. So I guess the argument for the card was the stuff like Master of the Wild Hunt and Oracle Moldiah specifically was brought up the most. And because those cards kind of existed, this card didn't really have the time of day. But needless to say, we still. I know I still tried it. I know both of us are definitely in camp. Where I guess I don't want to say anti Oracle Moldiah, but I don't like that card. You don't like the card, like you said. It has a problem attacking and blocking. It doesn't do either. It is just this walking. What's the word? I guess there isn't quite a card like it, but
no.
It's the Oracle Moldiah. It is the Oracle Moldiah. It almost like it has this enchantment-y feel, but is very vulnerable to literally anything on the board. So I don't quite like the card. I do think it's a little slow and very fragile. It doesn't really. If I want to play Oracle, I think I want to play more of a dedicated ramp spell as opposed to this just very fragile 2/2 that will probably get me a land here or there, but if it doesn't, it's going to get cleaned up really quickly. So Vizier Menagerie, again, has a very attractive mana cost of only being 3 and a green. Gives you the option to peek at the top of the library and then cast creatures if you have them. So I'm not going to say this card has blown people out, but there have been a lot of games that come down to a little bit of a grind or a turn or two where your opponent can't really interact with it, and all it takes is flipping a creature or two off the top, and then all of a sudden that card's done more than it needs to.
So if it draws like a card every second turn, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. And it's got relevant body.
Mm-hmm. It has cool art still.
Great art. I'm becoming the art and aesthetics type of person. I don't know if I want that role. But.
That's fine. Someone's got to be. I'm normally that kind of person. So again, Oracle. I'm not Oracle. Sorry, Vizier. I'm not gonna say that it's done wonders and it's been the best card in my cube by any means, but it's definitely performed. I wanted to almost just write it off. I expected it to just kind of be bad, but it's performed better than I expected. Like I said, in a lot of matchups. At the end of the day, the card is fair when you're playing these creature matchups.
I'm a big fan of fair matchups, though. So.
Even against control decks, if it's able to sneak in free cards on top of your library, it feels pretty good. So, Vizier Menagerie still gets a thumbs up for me, even after the multiple months of testing it. People seem to have liked it. I know the best story I got out of it was when I played Simic, the not Planeswalker. For the first week or two, a friend of mine played Vizier. Passed a turn, or got back to him. He passed a turn, and his opponent attacked into him. He flashed Salmon off the top of his library to have a very, very good block, and then was able to untap, slam a bunch of creatures, and deal infinite damage.
Rhonas was in that game, wasn't
he? Yeah, he played Rhonas the following turn after that. It was almost he drafted almost with every Amonkhet green card. So, yeah, at the end of the day, again, Vizier gets a thumbs up for artwork and for playability. That's where I'm at.
On the Glorybringer?
Glorybringer is the most impressive card in all of Amonkhet. It has impressed me the most. It wasn't even on our list of on our review. I know as soon as we finished recording it, I was like, we probably should have talked about Glorybringer. But you know what? There's Thundermaw There's the other one from Theros. You know
Stormbreath.
Yeah, Stormbreath Dragon. It's like Thundermaw. We have Thundermaw Why would you ever play Glorybringer? It's very much like a Noxious Gearhulk. You see Noxious Gearhulk the first time, you're like, this isn't Grave Titan. Like, why would I bother with Noxious Gearhulk?
I like Noxious Gearhulk.
It's Grave Titan. Like, yeah, but then Noxious Gearhulk ends up being a super solid card. And that, I kind of, everyone kind of gets caught up in it. I find myself getting caught up in it a lot. And, see Glorybringer. Like, why would I play Glorybringer? I'm just going to play Thundermaw. So, Glorybringer is the most impressive card by far in Amonkhet for me. I tried it kind of on a whim. A friend of mine opened one. Actually, Will opened it, and he kind of donated it to me. So, I've played it since, and... yeah, it's blown me away. I don't want to say I like it more. It's, what I want to say I almost like it more than Thundermaw.
So how much do you exert it, or how often?
Almost every time. So the difference between Thundermaw and Glorybringer is Thundermaw is this big flying super efficient creature. Ends the game very quick. Randomly kills Lingering Souls tokens.
Always gets in for 5.
Always gets in for 5. So it's big. It's menacing. It can close the game very quick. Glorybringer is very much the opposite. He doesn't close the game very quick. His body's naturally smaller, but he is this flying Shriekmaw with haste. So he's able to come down, kill a creature, deal 4, maybe, if you're lucky, to catch a Planeswalker. So he serves a better role in specific decks, where Thundermaw is just a big creature, and that's good. You're playing him in green-red, that's great. But let's say you're playing some sort of Grixis deck or Mardu deck, having just this big flying Shriekmaw option feels really, really good. You feel it always feels good having it. Like, it always feels good having Shriekmaw. This thing's a big flying Shriekmaw. That's a much more of a threat. That's able to Shriekmaw every other turn. So I do like the card a lot. Like I said, it's impressed me way more than any other card in Amonkhet, and it wasn't even a card that I originally considered.
So someone just added them. Where would you rank them on the 5-drop red scale? Because it's getting pretty decent.
Well,
now.
Red has like Tharmahalkite. They have Stormbreath Dragon. If you like Stormbreath Dragon, though I think he's the worst of the dragons options. There's Siege Gang Commander, Zealot's Conscripts.
Yeah.
Missing one?
There are Goblin Dark Dwellers.
Yeah, Goblin Dark Dwellers is another good one.
And that.
So we've gotten a couple of good ones recently. Goblin Dark Dwellers is interesting. I like the card a lot, especially obviously the more powerful the spells you play with him, the more powerful he gets. I know I think you have to have I don't want to say specific cards for Dark Dweller, but there are a couple cards that you can have in your cube that make you want to live the dream, like Ancestral Visions and stuff like that. I do like Dark Dwellers a lot, but I like Glorybringer a lot more in his spot. So the ceiling on Dark Dwellers is a lot higher, being able to buy back draw spells or like some very, very good spells.
He could just do an impression of a Glorybringer.
Yeah, he can do, like, he can come into play and terminate something or Doomblade or do one of the various removal spells in cube. So he can be a Glorybringer, he can be a Muldrifter, he can do a lot of different things, kind of based on what you have in your deck, and he's really fun to draft. And he has Menace, the body's cool. I do like the card too. And I'm not saying I like one more than the other, but right now I don't play Dark Dwellers, I do play Glorybringer.
You play Zealous Conscripts? He's one of the cards that cut in the last update.
I think I cut him
the least
recently
amount
too.
of play.
I
Although his mana cost is quite good.
I cut him too not that long ago, also because he's kind of stopped seeing play. The more Planeswalkers you have, the better that card gets, I find. He's the best at doing that, sneaking and stealing Planeswalker Ultimates or stealing activations. And I'm fairly good at keeping my Planeswalker count fairly low, and without it, it doesn't... It just wasn't seeing as much play as I wanted, so I switched it out recently. But I know I play Siege Gang. Siege Gang is very, very good. It's like the opposite side of Thundermaw. Thundermaw is this big idiot that kills the game very quickly. Siege Gang Commander is like, kind of goes really wide and interacts differently with the board and a lot of different cards, like the aforementioned Perforos. But, so I like Siege Gang and Thundermaw, I guess, are the best 5-drops. Behind that is probably somewhere along the lines of Zealous Conscripts, just because that card has huge variance based on the environment. And then Glorybringer. I'm not quite ready to say I like Glorybringer more than Thundermaw yet. I don't think it's quite the better card, but I'm very, very close. And then Dark Dwellers is probably somewhere just behind Glorybringer, just because this is a matter of opinion. Glorybringer has very little variance. It does the same thing over and over and over.
I like that type of effect when I'm drafting. I want consistency.
Yeah. And then Goblin Dark Dwellers, it can, again, huge variance based on what you're doing. It can be a little more exciting, can be a little worse. So, yeah, Glorybringer easily the card I'm most impressed with.
I picked up that game day promo, so slotted them in last week. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I know we tried to record this one other time, and I had to sell you on the card before, and I think over the past couple weeks I've done more than enough to do it. So, because
over various recordings,
the game day promo exists. I know there was a lot easier.
It looks okay. I think the
I do
original
like the
art's
original
better.
art.
Yeah,
I really like Glorybringer's original art. It's one of my favorite cards in the set, to be honest. So, I guess that's it. That's all we really have to talk about.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Talk about Amonkhet. So, I guess in my books, Glorybringer has been the most impressive card. Rhonas, most impressive god.
To be expected.
Oketra, least impressive card in the set that we've tested, unfortunately. And then Nissa, the very... Simic, which is down here. Jada, you have any other comments about Amonkhet?
No, that's about it.
Good. That's great. So yeah, I guess that's been Amonkhet, I guess 3 months later. So... let us know what you think about Amonkhet, how cards have tested for you. I know there's a lot of cards that, I'm sure, like maybe there are more Glorybringers out there.
There's a lot of cards in that set, as opposed to Our Devastation. There's like 3.
Yeah, Our Devastation is a little smaller of a card pool, so hopefully, hopefully the cards that I am trying.
That's generally like the second or third set type of effect, right? It's like 26, 2.
So yeah, hopefully Our Devastation does play out well. Again, let us know what you think about Amonkhet and what the best performers are in your cube. But than that, again, thanks for checking us out here at the Menagerie. Again, I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And, see you later.